Yeah, you can just barely see him walking behind the ring there, but that is Brian. There he is, Brian Christopher. He's got the Southern belt in one hand, the Texas belt around his waist, and a couple of guys in the crowd decided to shake hands with him. He acted like he was going to shake hands, and it pulled his hand away at the last second.
There's Miss Texas and Dr. Tom Prichard, their opponents.
Dose of reality may be coming up here for Brian Christopher. You know, Brian won that Texas belt from Dr. Tom Prichard by means that are still in dispute. Brian says he's going to take his time and do as he pleases. He is the champion, after all.
Holder of 2 titles. Dr. Tom Prichard telling him, come on in here, champion. Christopher steps on the apron. He's a tough character. Brian Christopher, Dr. Tom Prichard, wrestling in out of Houston, Texas. 1 fall and 15 minutes in time. We've got ourselves a good single bout here today, and don't forget, still to come, stretcher match, Eric Embry and Dirty White Boy Tony Anglin.
Yeah, that ought to be a good one. This ought to be a great one right here. Dr. Tom Prichard, what a wrestler, a veteran. Brian Christopher, the upstart, who has won himself 2 championships, the Texas title and the Southern title, and has an attitude that just won't quit. Scowl on his face there.
Attitude never rests, never sleeps.
I guess Brian doesn't figure he's being treated with a proper respect by Dr. Tom.
Hear the old saying, never sleep, never slumber. Well, Brian Christopher's attitude is the same way. He's got one, and he's got a mouth on it, but he can wrestle. Takes Prichard into the ropes. Dr. Tom comes over, back over and under. Prichard with a nice hip toss on Brian Christopher. Oh, and Christopher, he was leaning on the rope there and almost fell through the rope and was barely hanging on the top rope there.
The crowd's getting on him. That's an embarrassing moment for Brian Christopher. But a deserved one, let me tell you. He made a mistake. He tripped is what happened, and he fell. He ended up hanging upside down in the rope.
Hanging on that top rope, upside down, and just fell out on the concrete floor.
Oh, here he comes back through the rope. Kevin Christian, the referee, backing Tom Prichard up to allow Brian Christopher to step through there.
Prichard with a nice move. Got an arm lock on Christopher now. Reversal, Christopher gets... And a reversal again, and Prichard's got him in a headlock there now. Working Brian Christopher over. The holder of the Southern heavyweight title and the Texas heavyweight title is Brian Christopher. He's got himself a tough opponent today, and Dr. Tom Prichard. Holding Prichard by his hair there was Christopher, and Prichard comes off the ropes now and comes under. Christopher, at his feet set to take Prichard over.
That was a good idea Brian Christopher had, but he's not dealing with a rookie here. He's dealing with top Tom Prichard.
Prichard and Christopher. Oh, look at Brian now. Got his hand out.
Yeah, let's be friends. Come on, let's shake hands. Put our differences behind us. You better watch it. He may have a chain behind him, too.
Back Prichard up against the turnbuckle. Christopher nails him. Series of rights. Slings him. Reversal. Ah! He threw Christopher right into the turnbuckle, and Brian Christopher found himself hanging upside down again in that turnbuckle. Big chop by Prichard. Chops Christopher again. Going after Brian Christopher now. Christopher choking him with that boot. Got that boot on Prichard in there.
Yeah, he was pulling back on the rope, too, to give himself some extra leverage so that Tom couldn't break out of it.
Big backdrop by Prichard. Comes back with a clothesline and takes Christopher down. Sets him up. Body slam by Dr. Tom Prichard. Follows with an elbow on Brian Christopher. Working Christopher over now. Dr. Tom Prichard Got his momentum going. All he had it going there for a minute. And Christopher comes off with a leg, and he tried to follow with an elbow. And Dr. Tom Prichard setting Christopher up now for a suplex. Takes him down.
Christopher telegraphed his move. Tom Prichard caught it and seized control.
Indeed. Prichard takes Brian Christopher over to the middle. Oh, Miss Texas.
Oh, yeah, she is in the corner, right?
You can't forget that either.
Yeah, Christopher knows that now.
She woke Brian Christopher up with a big right hand, just slapped him right across the face. Prichard snaps Christopher out of the turnbuckle now. Follows down with a foot. And Brian Christopher, 1 fall, 15 minutes in time is the time of this bout. A good single bout going here today with Prichard and Christopher.
Well, we've had some good action here today. We've also had to put up with the Moondogs a couple of times, but the action has been good, and this one is a fine match going here.
Speaking of the Moondogs, you just said we had to put up with them. Look like we've got to put up with them again. We got to ring it, Dave.
Well, I wish I hadn't said it.
What in the world is that he's got? Some kind of...
What is this? Richard Lee?
Well, I get a suspension for Jerry Lawler and Jeff Jarrett. Everybody we run into, Dave Krause, is gonna eat dirt, brother. I'm sick and tired of people coming out mistreating my dogs and thinking my dogs ain't gonna do anything to retaliate. This is how it's gonna be every day.
There's Eddie Marlin there now trying to get Richard to get him out of here.
Well,
this kind of stuff, Dave.
I'm sick and tired of Richard Lee coming out here and lying, talking about this, and I'm sick of watching it. We'll take a break and we'll be back.